Let's talk about something that so many of us think
Welcome.
about, especially after 50, our hair. We try all these products and treatments, but what if the real key, or even the real problem, is sitting right in our kitchen? We're going to crack open the truth about something as simple as a handful of nuts. So let's get right to it. That healthy snack you grab every afternoon, could it actually be working against your hair? Or, on the flip side, could a different choice be the secret to getting that thickness and strength back? Well, that's exactly what we're going to figure out. First things first, let's start with the good news, right? There are absolutely nuts out there that are packed with everything your hair is crying out for. We're going to count down the top 4, and we'll start with one you probably already have at home. So coming in at number 4 are almonds. This probably doesn't surprise you too much. I mean, doctors in the US recommend these all the time when women start worrying about their hair thinning. But why? What are they actually doing? Let's break it down. Think of it like this. Almonds do 2 amazing things. First, they've got biotin, which is basically food for the little cells that actually grow your hair. But, you can have the best seeds in the world, but if your soil is bad, nothing's going to grow. That's where vitamin E comes in. It acts like a shield for your scalp, making sure that soil is healthy and ready for new growth. And the best part? A small handful a day is all you need. All right, number 3 on our list, walnuts. Now, these are incredible because they go after a huge problem that a lot of women deal with after menopause, and that's inflammation. Walnuts are like the peacekeepers for your scalp. They're loaded with omega-3s, which act like little firefighters, calming down all that inflammation that can really choke off your hair follicles. Plus, they have copper, which is so important for reinforcing the actual structure of your hair, making it stronger and way less brittle. Okay, coming in at number 2, we have Brazil nuts. And this is a big one because it connects our hair directly to an organ that is so critical for women over 50, but often gets ignored, our thyroid. The magic ingredient here is a mineral called selenium. See, your thyroid absolutely needs selenium to do its job. And when your thyroid isn't working at its best, which is super common for us, one of the very first things to go is your hair. You start shedding more. And it just so happens that Brazil nuts are one of the most powerful natural sources of selenium you can possibly find. But listen up, because this is probably the most important thing I'm going to say about this nut. Because they are so incredibly potent, more is not better. Seriously. All you need is 1 to 3 nuts a day. That's it. If you overdo it, you can actually cause other problems. So this is one of those cases where a tiny bit goes a very long way. And the number 1 nut that can give your hair a real fighting chance, you might not guess this one. It's cashews. Yeah, they don't always get the same hype, but they have a mineral inside that is basically your body's number 1 repairman. I love this analogy. Think of the zinc in cashews as a construction crew for your scalp. It literally goes in and helps build and repair the tissues that your hair follicles live in. And this matters because zinc deficiency is way more common than you'd think in women over 50, and it's directly tied to that frustrating all-over thinning. A quarter cup of cashews is a pretty tasty way to make sure your repair crew always shows up for work. Okay, so we have our 4 hair heroes: almonds, walnuts, Brazil nuts, and cashews. But, and this is a big but, here's where the story takes a sharp turn. Because while these nuts are great, some other very popular nuts could be quietly undoing all of your hard work. So that brings us to the other side of the coin. Let's look at 4 nuts you need to be a little careful with, and the reasons why, well, they might just surprise you. First up on the be careful list, peanuts. And fun fact, they're not even nuts. They're technically legumes. But while they seem like a perfectly healthy snack, they can come with a couple of hidden issues that can affect your hair. So here's the deal with peanuts. Sometimes they can have a type of mold called aflatoxin. Now, your liver has to work overtime to clear that stuff out, and a stressed out liver can throw your hormones out of whack. And hormones are everything for hair health. On top of that, a lot of people have a mild sensitivity to peanuts they don't even know about, and that can create this constant low-grade inflammation that tells your body, hey, let's use our resources for this instead of, growing hair. So the key here is to just limit them, and maybe look for brands that specifically test for aflatoxin. Next on our list are pecans. Now, let me be clear. A plain, raw pecan isn't the enemy. The real danger with pecans is how we usually eat them. The number 1 problem here is sugar. Think candied pecans, pecan pie. All that sugar can lead to something called insulin resistance, and that kicks off a hormonal chain reaction that can actually shrink your hair follicles. Yikes. Plus, pecans have a lot more of the inflammatory omega-6 fats than the anti-inflammatory omega-3s. So if you love them, the fix is pretty simple. Just eat them plain, unsweetened, and don't go overboard on the portion size. All right, I hope you're sitting down for this one because here comes the plot twist. Our number 2 risky nut is cashews. I know. We just gave them the number 1 spot for helping your hair. So how on earth can they be on both lists? Well, welcome to the cashew paradox. This slide lays it out perfectly. When you eat cashews in moderation, your body gets to absorb all that wonderful hair-building zinc. But if you eat too many of them, something called phytic acid takes over. It's sometimes called an anti-nutrient because it actually binds to minerals like zinc and stops your body from absorbing them. So, weirdly enough, eating too many cashews can actually lead to a deficiency in the exact mineral you're eating them for. And now for the number 1 riskiest nut for your hair. And this one's a shocker because it's so often marketed as this amazing luxury health food, macadamia nuts. Macadamia nuts are basically a triple threat. First, they are so dense in calories and fat, it's super easy to eat too many, which can affect your weight and throw your hormones out of balance. Second, they have one of the worst ratios of inflammatory omega-6s to good omega-3s. And finally, they can be really tough on your digestion, which means you might not even be absorbing nutrients properly. The fix? Just think of them as a special, rare indulgence, not an everyday snack. So after all that, what is the actual secret here? It's not about finding one perfect superfood or banning one bad food forever. The real key to hair health, especially after 50, is just finding a nice, healthy pattern of balance in what you eat. Let's just put it all together in a little cheat sheet. A daily handful of almonds for biotin, walnuts a few times a week for those omega-3s, just 1 to 3 Brazil nuts for your thyroid, and a handful of cashews here and there for zinc. On the flip side, just be mindful of peanuts, eat your pecans plain, and keep those macadamia nuts as a special treat. See? It's all about making smart choices. Look, this isn't about completely changing your life overnight. It's about making small, easy adjustments that can have a big impact over time. So looking at all this, what's one simple change you can make this week? Maybe it's swapping your peanuts for almonds, or maybe it's just adding a couple of Brazilian nuts to your breakfast. That first step, no matter how small, puts all the power right back in your hands.
I share simple, science-based tips for staying healthy after 50. Subscribe if that sounds like something you'd enjoy. Comment below and tell me, which of these nuts do you already eat?